Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of League Chat with the Stat. Thanks for joining me again on another great week. Look, guys, to be honest, there wasn't almost going to be a podcast this week. If there was, it's going to be like a 5-6 minute one. Let me explain to you why. I don't know if you guys were aware of the circumstances that happened in Queensland on Saturday morning, but look, I'm not here to muck around. Let's get straight into it. So, Saturday morning, 9 a.m., the Department of Health in Queensland come out and say by 4 p.m. today, everything is going to be in the 3-day snap lockdown. Reason being is that we've had a couple cases in Queensland and we need to go into a snap lockdown to ensure that the virus does not spread. So, in true NRL fashion, they only get very short notice and they get told that the Saturday's games are going to have to be postponed. But it took a while for that to happen because I know that the Rabbitos had flown in from where they were staying straight into town for the game. And they called the game off. So they had to stay on the plane and fly straight back. Now, Peter V'landys, Andrew Abdo, and the whole team were trying to figure out a way just so they could get their NRL to continue. You know, you guys got to realise as well, they have moved from Sydney, not just the players, but their families as well, and they've all quarantined, and they should be out of quarantine by today or tomorrow. They've all quarantined. And so they're all based in Brisbane for the whole point that Queensland will host the NRL till the end of the season. A 3-day snap lockdown almost stuffed up everything. What's happened is now there's so many concerns as to whether the games are going to go on. There's going to be concerns how the families are going to get back to Sydney if they needed to get back in case things got worse in Queensland. There was a lot going on. But in true Peter V'landys fashion, he sees that as a challenge that he can conquer. And by 11 p.m. on Saturday night, all three games that had been pushed back at a later date will all push back to the next day. So all of Saturday's games will move to Sunday. All of Sunday's games will move to Monday. So, you had the Knights versus Raiders, Storm versus Panthers, and Rabbitos versus Dragons. So, Rabbitos versus Dragons was meant to be at 3 o'clock, Knights Raiders was meant to be at 5:30, and Storm and Panthers would be 7:30. Got changed all around. The Knights started at 3 p.m., the Storm at at 1:50 p.m., the Storm at 4 p.m., and then the Rabbitos at 6:25. And then the Sunday games, Titans versus Bulldogs and Eagles versus Sharks, they were actually all moved to Monday. First time we had Monday Night Football in a very long time. So the Titans versus the Bulldogs was meant to be on Sunday, and the Seagulls versus Sharks, again, was meant to be Sunday, got moved to Monday, and were played Monday, 6 p.m. and then 8 p.m., which capped off the round. So Andrew Abdo, Peter V'landys, where would this game be without him? I can't believe that there was a point in time where the players actually came out and criticised them both, mainly Peter V'landys, and said that they need to throw him out because of some rule changes. If we don't have Peter V'landys running this game, we have no hope. We could have potentially had no season this year. There would have been a massive chance that all of us, everyone being stuck in Queensland, that would have actually prevented the game from going on further, and everyone would have to be sent home, and there would have been massive delays, and there would have been massive dramas. But for Peter V'landys and Andrew Abdo and his team, to get a 100-page document in from Saturday morning to Saturday night to get it approved by Queensland's Health is phenomenal. I want Peter V'landys as our Prime Minister, I'll be honest. I feel like he can get a lot more things done, and I feel like he could run things a lot more accordingly than the way things are going now. But we're not here to talk politics. But Peter V'landys saves the day once again. Any player that ever comes out from here on in and tries to throw out Peter V'landys, you're an absolute joke. And there should be some definitely there should be a lot of consequences handed down your way if you're going to back the one guy, if you're not going to back the one guy that's actually stood by the NRL and done everything in its power to continue to have the game there. And to continue to have the game going, and to continue to have it flowing the way it's been flowing. Now, look, we're very grateful as fans that we get to obviously cover the greatest game of all and to be part of it. But we're also grateful that we've got to watch it. I remember sitting there Saturday thinking this is one of the worst Saturdays I've ever had to endure because there was no rugby league. One of the worst. So the job that Peter V'landys does is phenomenal, and there should be no players that are trying to go against what he's trying to do. They should all be standing by him. And look, he's not perfect, but he's doing everything right to keep the NRL going. When Queensland shut down everything, the NRL kept going. It just goes to show how much of a genius this bloke is. But look, I want to get into round 20. That's my little rant done. Roosters 28 defeated the Eels 0. Let me tell you, very happy. Very good result. Didn't expect it. I expected an Eels win. But I've got to give it to the Roosters. Fantastic win. Look, they're under very tough circumstances at the moment with all the injuries, but all that being said, they're missing about 60% of the salary cap. I go through every week with the injuries and the suspensions that they got. And then Josh Morris got injured again. He got injured, which again added to the woes of the Roosters. But we look here, and Parramatta were kept scoreless. Parramatta were only missing Mitch Moses that game. RCG left the field after 8 minutes with a groin injury. But you gotta be amazed just how well the Roosters are going, and to keep the Eels to 0, a top 4 side, it's exceptional. It's extremely amazing. For the Eels, mate, they were dreadful. Mate, they were so poor. It's always come around this time of year where they just start to dip. Don't know why. Don't know what it is, but they just dip. And it's hard to watch, and it's hard to realise. And there's a good chance they won't finish in the top 4. There's a very big chance they won't finish in the top 4. They were dreadful on the weekend. They were so bad. It's proving my point and proving a lot of people's points. And a lot of Para fans who I've spoken to are now realising, yeah, look, I don't think we can win the comp. The more games that are played prior to the finals, the Eels just are distancing themselves from the trophy. And look, it sucks because, Parramatta Eels are the contenders during the year and pretenders in the finals, but we haven't even hit the finals yet, and they're now showing that they're pretenders. First losing to the Raiders last week, and then losing to a completely depleted Rooster side. Mate, a lot of things happening in Parramatta that really need to get analysed, because going down to a Rooster side like that, going back-to-back losses, having experienced that all year, this is the true Eels that come out. So while I called it from the beginning, the Roosters were great. Under all the circumstances, they've been playing really well. And you got to credit, players that have stepped up. Joseph Manu, again, another 300 metres he clocked up this weekend, just trying to get involved in everything. Tedesco leading from behind. Sam Walker, another dominant performance from him in the halves. Really outclassed Dylan Brown. He did absolutely nothing. Really outclassed him. I was expecting a lot better from Dylan Brown, especially in this game, especially in a game where he needed to step up. And like he did against the Titans when Moses wasn't there, he stepped up and he took control. And to not do that against Rooster side missing a lot of players, I thought was really poor, and just shows that he's very, very similar to Mitch Moses, where they'll disappear and they'll fade out in certain games. So look, the Eels have a lot of work to do, but I've got to credit the Roosters. They dominated them, and they were a high chance of making that top 4. They're a really big chance. The Warriors 18 defeated the Tigers 16. Look, this is what I don't understand, and this is why I call the Warriors one of the most inconsistent teams in the comp. There are weeks where they should win games they don't win, and games like this where they ideally you think shouldn't have won, missing a lot of players. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, Harris Tavita, Matt Lodge, Adam Fanua-Blake, just to name a few. Wade Egan. Again, there's a few more missing. Josh Curran, who pulled out night before game day. That's had 6 players already, plus more that I'm already missing out on. Held off against a Tiger side who, honestly, I thought they would win this game. Tigers like to think that they can beat teams when they're very depleted. But I honestly didn't think the Warriors would hold on the way they did, and having players play out of position. Ewan Aitken playing in the second row was phenomenal. But I don't know what to say about the Tigers. I don't know what to say. This team frustrates me. I'm not even a Tigers fan, and I'm just so annoyed. They're disgusting. They're so hard to watch. You look at the side. You look at exactly who was playing and what they were doing and how they were going about things. Let me just pick out 2 moments where they lost that game. First off, when they're up 12-10 and it was a Tigers dropout and they went to go short. Why go short? I don't understand this whole going short trying to get the ball back. It's not last minute. You're not down 12-10. You're up 12-10 with 25 minutes to go. Brooks puts in a short kickoff, gets caught by Aiken. Aiken runs and scores. Very simple. Very, very simple. And then that was one big part where Luke's deflected the ball and he came off his arm and he ran the field and scored. It was a tough call. It was hard. I understand there was a knock on, but that you can't really say that, Brooks knocked it on, made it so obvious. He deflected off him. Unfortunately, he hit his arm and deflected and they ran. Just goes to show the Tigers luck at the moment. But a couple minutes to go, they're on the Warriors line. Joel Fangawi makes a bit of a break and gets to 3-4 meters out, or 2-3 meters out from the Warriors line. Plays the ball. No one is there at hooker. No one is there at hooker. Why? Basic things, basic errors. I'm not saying that they could have scored there, but they had a chance. They had one more tackle. Or at least get another repeat set. They were there, right in front of the line, and no one was at dummy half. Cheekham wants to play the ball had been played. He realised, maybe I should go there, and tried to run for it. And Reece Walsh had already covered the ball. Offengale looking at his teammates, disgusted, absolutely appalled that he's played the ball thinking there would be another play, there's another option, they're only 2 points behind, and they let it go. Mate, they are just abysmal. They're so sloppy. You know, the only one that's really trying that team is Adam Blakey. The only one that's trying. He's the only one that seems to be putting in so much effort, and he's always proving that he can dominate where he plays. He's playing in the centres, he's killed it. Plays at fullback, does all right. Plays in the halves is where he belongs. But, yeah, everyone else really needs to step up. This is a joke. The Dogs got the Tigers this week. I promise this is going to be a battle for the wooden spoon. 100%. Brisbane are starting to string a couple of wins together. But the Tigers, they're just so bad. So bad. In a game where they really should have been in the Warriors, they got destroyed. Yeah, there's only 2 points in it, but their confidence copped the absolute battering. Whatever bit of confidence they had left, mate, they copped it. And you know what? A lot of the players don't deserve it, but at the same time, a lot of them do. Maguire's sitting in the coach's box, just shaking his head. Like, what else can the guy do? And the worse that the players are playing, the more pressure heaps on Maguire, which is going to mean that he's probably going to leave at the end of the season because he couldn't beat a depleted Warriors side. It's poor. The Tigers, they're just so crap. It's so bad. Broncos 37 defeated the Cowboys 18. And I actually thought this was a solid win for the Broncos. I was very confident they'll go into this game and win. And they performed pretty well. It was very like try Broncos, try Cowboys kind of game for the first couple of tries. And then they just got away with it, the Broncos. And the Cowboys, look, again, not up to the standards that they're meant to play. They were denied a try as they were trying to forge a little comeback with like 20-odd to go. And when they went for that try, which I thought was a try, the ref called a knock on, which I thought was such a bad call, that really smacked the confidence of the Cowboys. It really hit them hard. And without enough experience around them, they couldn't seem to just bounce back from it, and Brisbane took the lollies and ran. Tony Starks played phenomenal, scored 2 tries. Payne Haas, don't need to say anything about him. He's the best prop in the game right now with Fisher Harris away due to personal reasons. Again, really setting the standard to show just how good he is of a leader. Just how good of a leader he is. And also the fact that he can just, the way he just carries that ball, the way he charges up that line, and the meters he makes, the post-contact meters he makes, it's exceptional. He sets a benchmark for his players to follow. A lot of the times the players don't follow, but they followed here. And it was a lot better game from the Broncos. And I'm hoping they get another win at least, try to finish the season on a bit of a higher note. The Cowboys have a lot of work to do. They need to get some plays back, and it's just not working out for them at the moment. And they're, again, just very poor from the Cowboys. Knights 34 defeated the Raiders 24 on Sunday. And look, this game was a bit of a surprise. I thought Raiders were going to win this one and win it comfortably with the way they had been going the last few weeks. But Newcastle just got off the blocks really quick. I thought Bradman Best, in his comeback game, dominated. Had a hand in the first few tries. Scored one himself. And I thought he was so dominant down that left edge. Really causing a lot of headaches for the Raiders' right-hand defensive side. And I just thought that just the X factor he brought into that side shows that they can play good football. When they want to turn it up the nights, they can turn it up. But they kept the Raiders on the back foot the entire game, and I wasn't expecting that. But look, the Raiders, they couldn't contain them. In a game where you'd think, coming up against Parramatta last week, you'd think they would have dominated them. And they would have put in a massive effort, and they would have backed up from how they went last week in such a very big and physical encounter to this. It's very tough times for the Raiders, and yeah, it's another loss, but a loss where they know that they really could have turned this game around and won. Jack Wyden has been hopeless. And I really feel for the guy, but whatever he's trying to do is just not working at the moment. He's had a very bad season. In the beginning, he started off pretty well. At one point, he was trying to hold the race together, and he just all fell apart. And you could see some of the plays he was trying to do. Some of the kicks that he took as well. Look, there was no need for some of the kicks that he needed to take. You leave that to your halfback, you're more of a ball runner. He's a big boy. You can run the ball a lot better than he can kick it. And we've seen him at his best where he's dominated the running game. It's unfortunate that he couldn't display that again in a time we needed to step up for his side. But look, credit to the Knights. They got the 2 points there and they still remained in the hunt in that top 8. Storm 37 defeated the Panthers 10. 16 on the trot now for Melbourne. 16 on the trot. It's unreal. They didn't play the most amazing game in the world, but they take their chances. They really know how to shift momentum and how to turn it around. My goodness, it's so good to watch. And they dominated the Panthers side that, look, they were missing a lot of players. They were missing a lot of players. Apasai Coruscant, Nathan Cleary, James Fisher-Harris, Brian To'o. And I thought that James Fisher-Harris and Brian To'o not being there in this particular game was the biggest loss for the Panthers. Biggest loss. On average, Brian To'o makes about 210 metres a game. On his average. The carries he makes from his side, where, the opposition kicks down to his corner, and the way he carries that ball and he brings it back is so dominant. It's like a prop on the wing. And James Fisher-Harris leading from the front. The Panthers showed their aggressive side. They started very aggressive, but they all just faded out. Fisher-Harris is just so pivotal and he's so important to that side that it's just him gone has left the biggest hole in that pack. The biggest hole. And his replacement, Fatoa's replacement, Robert Jennings, was poor. Man, he was bad. And I thought both of them as well. I thought Charlie Staines didn't have a good game either. Made 1 or 2 runs. Nothing special. Didn't do anything to kind of set the world on fire. This is the time where the Panthers players really need to step up. Really need to step up. And you could tell that their character copped a massive denting, after those injuries. And I thought in the last minute as well, Stephen Crichton kicking Cameron Munster in the chest, so uncalled for. So uncalled for. Yes, Munster's done it a few times in his career, but they've done it with a minute to go. Just another minute. Very poor. And the Panthers, they need to get some of the cavalry back because they're really suffering at the moment with all these players missing, and it's not getting any easier for them with the next few games that are coming up. The Rabbitos 50 defeated the Dragons 14. Rabbitos got off to another slower start. Dragons got off the blocks real hot. Thought they had started really well. Coronel knock on with that little blunder from Jackson Paulo would have set the tone for the Dragons. But then after that, it just dipped. And Rabbitos just took it and ran away with it. In the last few weeks, the Rabbitos have put on some serious points. They've just destroyed all their opponents. And I'll go through it now. So obviously we've seen that they won 50 points to 14. Prior to that, they put 60 on the Warriors. Prior to that, they had put 32 on the Dogs. These are big numbers. The last 3 weeks, 32, 60, and 50. 142 points in 3 weeks. They know that they can dominate an attack. They know that they can dominate. But defense is the issue. Defense is a massive issue. 24 against the Dogs that they conceded. 22 against the Warriors. And then 14 against the Dragons. So it started off very high, and game by game, while they're still scoring high, they're keeping their defense, and they're trying to reduce the amount of tries that are being scored against them. And they're playing some phenomenal attacking football. It's such a pleasure to watch. And for the Dragons, they were missing about 6 of their stars from that COVID suspension, and they looked like they were just never a chance. And they were going to get dominated, and they just looked in all sorts. Crying out loud, when you're that desperate to have Corey Norman playing in your centres, when you can't play that well at 5'8", then to move him to the centres, look, again, wouldn't have been a first choice option, but really needed to be done. And I thought that it was very important that they got that done. And I also thought that it was best getting it done that way, that they just had to kind of deal with it and lay it on the table and just utilise their options from there. Williami has been injured with a hammy injury anyway, so he couldn't play, or calf injury. And Dryby was suspended, or I think it was dropped from that game, or playing on the other side. So they were short a few men, but they pulled themselves up, and another big win for the Rabbitos. The Titans 34 defeated the Bulldogs 6. Very good performance from the Titans again. Very, very solid performance. Probably, I know it was against the Dogs, but it was a very solid performance from them. And I thought that they were very consistent throughout the whole 80 minutes. There wasn't a time where they kind of dropped and they kind of fell by the wayside. They kept what they were trying to do. They kept to the game plan and they stuck by it really well. And it showed. It showed exceptionally. For the Dogs, hopeless as usual. Anytime they make a mistake, they can't rebound from it. Jaden Ockable made about 4. He was so bad. The times that we lost the ball were at times where we really could have gotten over the try line in that first half. Ockable knocked it on twice. I think both times were on 0 and second tackle. Just schoolboy error stuff. Really schoolboy error stuff. And I get asked the question why I don't lose it and why I don't go on about the fact that we're getting losing every week and we're getting smashed. I just run out of things to say, to be honest. I do. They're just poor week in, week out. There's no signs of them ever getting better. And I've only got 5 or so more weeks before I'd have to see this side of the Bulldogs, hopefully for a very long time. Very hopeful. The Seagulls 40 defeated the Sharks 22. And look, honestly, the Seagulls definitely the dark horses to win the comp. My goodness me, how good is Tom Trbojevic? So good. Far out. The way he influences a side is second to none. He got benched for the last 13 minutes of that game. And they conceded 2 tries within minutes. What he brings outside in defense, in attack, it's just so structured. It's so good. And these new rules that he said that has complemented him, and he's just been phenomenal. Let me just read his stats. 3 tries, 3 try assists, 22 runs, 227 metres, 15 tackle breaks, 3 line breaks, 4 line break assists, and 4 offloads in 67 minutes. These numbers are insane. Surely I'm not the only one that's sitting here thinking these are insane numbers. They're crazy. They're crazy numbers. And he's just so influential for that Seagulls side. Well, the Sharks, look, they were aggressive the whole game. They really tried to stay part of that contest. But they couldn't contain Turbo. He was just too good. And it was a struggle for them. Big struggle for them because they really couldn't try to stop him. They couldn't get enough men around him to limit him to what he could do. Because every try he was involved. In every play that led to tries he was involved. Whether he was scoring him, whether he was setting him up, he had all involvement. Phenomenal athlete. He's so good to watch. And in some of the stats from this year, he's only played 11 games. And he has just as many try assists, or second to try assists in Cody Walker. Cody Walker's played every game this year. It's just freakish. Unreal. Take it all to news around the NRL world. There was a rumour last week that Zach Lomax was looking to get a release from the Dragons. Now, having read up on it, it was hot for about 2 hours and then it died. There was nothing after that. There was nothing following up. And it was just a bit of what the Dragons call a bit of a misunderstanding. Even though there was things like Zach Lomax unfollowing the Dragons page and doing all these kind of little cryptic things, there was nothing in it to suggest that he's leaving and he'll be sticking out his contract at this stage. Ryan Papenhuyzen has re-signed for 3 years with the Storm, which is really good to see him come back from injury and just getting a bit more game time under his belt after that massive concussion. So he'll be sticking around there for the next few years. Congratulations to Ben Cummins on refereeing 400 games. He refereed the Warriors-Tigers game on Friday night. It's his 400th game he's refereed, which is a phenomenal effort from Ben Cummins. South signed Anthony Milford for a year. I believe the reason it was only for a year, it was meant to be 2, but I think it's taken the 1 year to try to prove himself and then potentially move back to Queensland to join the new side if they do come out. Cooper Cronk has joined Queensland Rugby League as the independent director. So congratulations to him for getting that role. Jaden Nikorima, the younger brother of Cody Nikorima, has apparently signed with the Storm for 2022. We're just awaiting official confirmation from the club at this stage. The Roosters have signed Dale Copley till the end of the season. And I believe they've got him on loan. Actually signed him to the end of the season due to Roosters having an absolutely depleted backline at the moment and having no one there to cover all the injuries. So Dale Copley will be playing this week as well. The Cowboys have re-signed Murray Taulagi for 2 years. I mentioned that last week that the Eels, Rabbitos and the Sharks were really keen on him. He has decided to stay put with the club and he's stayed put there for 2 years. William Kikau is being offered big money by French Rugby. They're putting in some massive packages in there for William Kikau. They see him as someone that can dominate the rugby union over there in France. And so they're putting in some big packages together for him at this stage. Moses Mbai, confirmed by his manager to be heading to the Dragons next year. Now it's just a matter of working out the dollar figure and how much Tigers want to contribute to the Dragons, to his salary, and so that the Dragons can know how much they can compensate and then go from there. But Mbai will definitely be leaving the Tigers and heading to the Dragons next year. Joel Whitbread has signed the deal with the Centurions in the Super League, and Nene McDonald has joined the Queensland Cup side, Brisbane Red Devils, to the end of the season. Looks like he's left the Sharks, and he's now back home in Queensland. Now let's go to round 21, ins, outs, and whereabouts. The Knights come up against the Broncos on Thursday. Knights have a 4-day turnaround. Mitchell Pearce has been named to return from a hamstring injury, which pushes Phoenix Crossland out the side. And hooker Jaden Brayley, has been rested, and his spot taken by Chris Randall. Jaden Brayley copped the HIA over the weekend. For the Broncos, Tony Staggs is out for the year, so Jesse Arthurs comes to the side at centre. And Danny Levi goes into the starting side to take the spot of Jake Turpin, who's out injured with an ankle injury. And TC Rabbitos is new face on the bench. And I think with a short turnaround for the Knights, and if they do get Mitch Pearce back, I still think they can actually take it. I was actually leaning towards the Broncos, but losing Tony Staggs might really impact them a lot. So I'm going to go the Knights here by 8 points. Raiders come up against the Dragons. Sebastian Crisfeld, the HIA, is missing the match this week, with Matt Tomoko taking his spot in the centres. Ryan Sutton will return from injury, so Hudson Young will shift to second row, and Corey Hawaii-Renara moving to the bench. And with Iosia Soliola dropping out of the 17. And Elijah Anderson will be the new face on the bench and making his debut. For the Dragons, Ben Hunt is out for 4 weeks with a broken arm. He's replaced on the side by Adam Clune at halfback. Jack Bird, Jack DeBellum, Blake Laurie, Zach Lomax, and Josh Maguire will return from their COVID suspensions. Cody Ramsey will come back into the side as well in the centres, which pushes Corey Norman into 5'8", and Jaden Sullivan out of the side. Jack Bird has been made to return at fullback, with Tyrell Sloan making way out of the 21, with Nat Duff the 18th man, and Josh Kerr and Gerard Bill are the last 2 players to serve that suspension from the barbecue at Paul Vaughan's house. And look, this could be a tough game, and I want to go the Raiders. I'm still very unsure at this stage. I'm leaning towards the Raiders, but I think Dragons are due for a win, and getting all their stars back could really help that case as well. But they do lose Ben Hunt. So look, I'll go Raiders by 4 for now, but that could definitely change by the end of the week. Eels come up against the Rabbitos. Mitch Moses returns with Jack Arthur back into the reserves. RCG is out, so Oregon Kafusi will start at prop. Martin Ukori comes back into the side after recovering from that knee injury. And Ray Stone will go back to the reserves, and Bryce Cartwright will take the other spot on the bench. For the Rabbitos, Cameron Murray returns from suspension, which sees Jaden Seward move to the bench on that side. And Benjamin Marshall comes back into the 17, as well as Tavita Totola. And so Patrick Margo, David Morali, who debuted last week, and Black Taffy will all be dropped into the reserves. And the way they're going, the Rabbitos, they've won 8 straight now, so I'm expecting them to continue that and beat the Eels by 14 points. Warriors come up against the Sharks. Shino Harris-Tavita returns to the side in the halves, which pushes Peter Hiku to the centres and Adam Pompey out of the side. Adam Fanua-Blake and Matt Lodge are back at props. So Jermaine Tanua-Brown goes to the reserves, and Murdoch Masila is out for the season with a foot injury. Josh Curran returns into the side after being a late withdrawal last week, pushing Elisa Katoa to the bench. And Justin Varga has moved to starting hooker, with Daniela Otukolo out of the side, who's injured, who's copped a knee injury. For the Sharks, Jesse Ramian is back into the side after recovering from an ear infection, pushing CSC for Talakai back to the second row. Jack Williams going a lot, Toby Rudolph to prop, and Adam Tolman coming off the bench. And their debutant Luke Metcalf making way for them. And I think Sharks will rebound in this game, and I reckon they'll win that one by 8 points as well. Roosters come up against the Panthers. The only change is Dale Copley comes into the side on the wing, with Joe Minor shifting to the centres to take the spot of Josh Morris. For the Panthers, Apasai Coruscant and Isaiah Yeo return from concussion and suspension, respectively. Stephen Crichton suspended, which pushes Paul Momorowski into the centres, where he was going to partner Kurt Capewell, with Brent Aden moving to the wing and Robert Jennings dropped. Tavita Pango Jr. will make his debut for the Panthers off the bench, with Isaac Targo and Jermaine Hopgood moving to the extended bench. Mitch Kenny drops to the bench as well to make way for Coruscant, and Scott Sorensen comes into the second row to take the spot of Capewell, who's filling in at centres for this week. And I think it's going to be a tough game. Panthers do get a few reinforcements back. I just think with them still missing Cleary and James Fisher-Harris and Brian To'o, they will suffer. I think I'm going back to Roosters again for a bit of a shock upset here by 6 points. Game of the round, potentially game of the year. The Seagulls are coming up against the Melbourne Storm. Josh Alloy returns from suspension for his 100th game, pushing Curtis Serena back to the extended bench. And Felice Kafusi for the Storm is out due to suspension. So Chris Lewis will move from the bench to the starting side, and Tom Eisenhuth will come onto the bench. I want to go to the Seagulls. I really do, and I think Tommy Turbo will play that whole 80 minutes this game. There's a couple of concerns with Jerome Hughes with his knee injury, so stay put for late mail there. But I just think with the way Seagulls are going, and if they can keep Tommy Turbo performing the way he is, mate, I could see this one going down to the wire. So I want to go Seagulls by 2 points. Bulldogs come up against the Tigers in is probably one of the worst games to be displayed this year. Kyle Flanagan is dropped to the reserves with Bailey Biondo Odo getting his start at 5'8", and Avrilo moving to halfback. Falakiko Manu will replace Jaden Okabor, who was dropped for a despicable performance. Nick Meaney and Corey Allen will swap places between fullback and wing. Visi Mangafogal will swap at prop with Napa, while Katoa gets a start on the bench and takes the spot of Renault for Tony. For the Tigers, Moses Mbai steps in at fullback to take the spot of Dane Laurie, who is out for the year with a broken leg. Michael Cheekham will replace Mbai in the centres. James Palmer is back in the side, pushing Alex 12 to the bench, and Thomas McKaylee returning at lock, with Joe Offengawa moving to the bench as well. And Zach Senior will come into the bench and take the spot of Tuki Simpkins, who has been dropped from the side. And look, I feel like everyone's just beating the Tigers at the moment, so I want to jump on the bandwagon and say Dogs by 4, and hopefully we can get that win that we've been hanging for so long. In the last game of the round, Titans come up against the Cowboys. For the Titans, Patrick Herbert returned from suspension, pushing Issa Masters out of the side, and Aaron Clark will replace Tyrone Peachy, who's suspended. For the Cowboys, they get Valentine Holmes back, with Jake Grenville moving to the bench. Ben Hampton goes from the bench to the centres, and Murray Talagi shifts to the wing to cover Kane Bradley, who's out for the year with a fractured hand. And Tom Gilbert, Halen Lukey, and Colin Hess will join Ben Hampton in the starting lineup. Francis Waller has been dropped, as well as Shane Wright, and Mitch Dunn has been moved to the bench, with Jason Tabulola shifting into second row. So I believe it could be more Francis Waller being rested. I don't think necessarily he was dropped or asked for poor performances, but nonetheless, I'm going to go the Titans. I think they'll back up really well from their performance against the Dogs, and I reckon they'll turn it around and put one to the Cowboys this week as well. Guys, thank you for joining me on another great episode of League Chat with the Stat. You guys can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And you can find us on your favourite podcasting streams as well. So just search League Chat with the Stat across all of them, and you'll definitely find our page there. And guys, just remember, we still got this hat selling. We're almost out of the hats, so $25 a hat for the white one and the black ones. But guys, NRL is back. Thank goodness for Peter V'landys and for the work that he contributes to keeping the game going. So shout out to him once again. Enjoy round 21. Let's get excited for another great weekend of football. Make sure you tune into the Storm versus Sea Eagles, which will be the game of the year, 100%. So guys, enjoy. Have a good week. Let's enjoy the footy. We'll see you next week. Take it easy.